Welcome to the Reloading Podcast. Excuse me. We'll just start that over. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. Thank you for supporting the bandwidth and supporting the program. And also want to take time to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to hang out every week. So, what's everybody been up to? Besides eating, Jason. I said, what's everybody been up to besides eating, Jason?
I bought a gun tonight.
What'd you get?
I bought a Benjamin Marauder pistol that is silenced. It's an air gun.
Right. Did you actually get to take it home, or is it still in prison?
They don't have to be in prison here. He's silencing it, and he thought he might be done tomorrow, so I could pick it up tomorrow night.
Yep.
Chambered in .22 caliber.
Good choice.
And my first time with the, what do you call that type of air gun? It's not the pump up.
PCP.
PCP. My first time getting one of those. But the owner of the shop I went to, he's got one that's been silenced. And so I got to listen to the unsilenced version compared to his. Way quiet. It's pretty nice. So I got a few crows in my garden that need to die of lead poisoning. So I'm hoping to accommodate them soon.
Nice.
And
so you're going to have to buy a compressor or anything like that to charge it up?
No. So what I did was bought a carbon fiber tank that'll give me approximately 25 refills into the gun. The gun shoots approximately 24 rounds without a charge. And then I go get the tank refilled. He charges $10. Doesn't matter what size your tank is. It's just a connection fee. I do have a, what do they call that? The BB guns that they play wars with.
Airsoft.
Airsoft. There's an airsoft shop about a mile from me. I thought about stopping by and see what they charge to fill a tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, not cheap. These are a little more than your Daisy BB gun you buy over at Kmart.
Yep.
And I tell you what, that's serious medicine. What's the velocity on the .22 caliber? What's the rate of velocity?
So this one's going to, I believe it launches at somewhere around 700 feet per second. And then at 25 yards, I'm somewhere around 650, something like that.
Jason, why don't you, strong suggestion, very generous suggestion. Chronograph that thing. You'd be surprised how consistent it is until you start running out of air.
Okay.
Yeah, Chrono. I have a side cocking pellet rifle. It's amazing. That thing comes in within two or three feet for extreme spread.
That's really, really consistent. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. Idaho Rogers has got some commentary you'd be interested in, Jason, about your charge for air.
I hear you, Idaho.
$10 for air in California, and Idaho Rogers USMC says that he breathes it free in Idaho. Idaho. Anyway, well, I'll go next. Nothing. I didn't do a damn thing. Other than answer questions like I usually do. We've got
Are
pretty
we
good
there
questions.
yet?
We got pretty
Are
good
we there
questions.
yet? Are we there yet? Oh, not that type of question. I'm sorry.
I know that. We got a pretty good question in show notes, but we're not there yet.
Paul, I've got horses like in the background of where I'm going to be shooting towards. So I really wanted something that was quite a bit slower and no chance for real ricochet. They're not like right behind me, but they're in that area, so I have to be careful of how fast I'm shooting. That's kind of why I went with this slower round.
So, Paul, is your fine work brow a pistol or a rifle that's going 10-25? So, that's what I'm wondering. I don't know. I've just got one of the old Crossman 1477s in 22. The old pump pistol that works for taking out rabbits in my backyard. Not very loud.
Is it the plastic handle and the plastic pump? Kind of long?
I don't know if it's plastic or if it's old enough that it's wood. I got it sitting over there. I can grab it.
I got a Crossman pistol, but it's not very accurate. And it's loud to a point. I've got neighbors with young kids that play in the backyard.
Yeah.
I'd really rather they just didn't know what I was doing.
That's
So I
always a
want
good idea.
quiet.
Yep. Now I'm curious, so I'm going to go grab it.
Paul Nelson put up the comment that he uses Elgamo pellets with plastic skirts, steel head. That'll give you some good penetration, Paul. Better penetration than you'll get with lead.
Yeah, so the grips on this are plastic, but everything else is metal.
It looks different than mine. I have no idea what my model is. I never paid attention.
Yeah.
Idaho
Jordan's got a
Rogers
good
got a
idea.
Daisy Red Rider. Do you have a compass in the stock?
And he says that it works wonders on his neighbor's dog crapping in his yard.
Sounds like you need to shoot the neighbors, not the dog.
Amen to that. Animals aren't that hard to control.
Nope. Yeah, somebody spray painted this thing black at one point in time. Or it's just a factory paint that's peeling off. So, I was looking to see if there's any other numbers or anything on it. So, nope. Anyway. Nick, how about you?
I got my brass in for my new gun that I have to convert. It's an 8mm bell. Also went down to St. Louis, down to a couple reloading stores, and picked up a few things. And going to look at a gun either tomorrow or Thursday. Maybe I want to buy. Just gotta look at the condition, see if it's what I want to pay for it. So.
Fun. I pretty much worked, and I'm slowly working on getting all of the rest of my kids' stuff out of the room so I can get the reloading stuff in the room. So hopefully next week I'll have a different backdrop.
Mike, do you have the option to turn your mic volume up a little bit? You're a skosh quiet.
I do not. That is the problem with this setup.
Okay.
The only thing I can do is move it closer. So, I don't know if that helps.
It does.
Okay, cool. All right. So, Nick, do you want to talk about the cartridge for tonight?
I
Or do you
can't.
want me to?
I don't care.
Okay, if you want to.
Let me pull up the page. So the cartridge, there's not much information I can find. Let me see if I can find a different page on it. Unless you found something already, Mike. The only page I'm finding doesn't have much information on it. Where's that? I had it saved.
I found a little bit on Wikipedia, but it looks like as far as Wikipedia is concerned, they cross it over to the label,
Yeah.
but it's not. So, I'm not sure what's the deal with that. Anyway, so what Nick suggested was the 8mm French Ordnance. So it's a rimmed cartridge used in the 8mm M1892 revolver, an inexpensive handguns manufactured in Belgium and Spain. They're usually copies of the, I don't know French, but it's Ordnance model in English. Revolver itself, or then a reputable foreign firearms, Colt Police Positive, Nagant 1980, Nagant M1895, a Rast and Gasser M1898, or a Smith & Wesson Model 10. So its dimensions are close to those of the 8mm Gasser. Bullets is a cylindrical ogival, and it is of the jacketed type. Power is compared to the original 32 ACP /765 Browning. Bullets are either 330 caliber for cast lead or 329 for full metal jackets. You can use 3220 cases for reloading. So, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that I found on it, it's either 8mm/92 or 8x27 mmR, or a couple of the other kind of names for it. So, but
Yeah.
So originally it was a black powder. So it used 12.2 grains of black powder originally. Original bullet mass was 120 grain, and it did 740 feet per second and 145 foot-pounds of energy. So, kind of interesting thing. Yeah, I didn't really find a heck of a lot on it, unfortunately. So, but so let's see here. So Liberty Tree Collectors actually has some Fiocchi ammo for sale for $36. So it's still available out there with 111 grain full metal jackal. So it's kind of interesting. But
Mike, could you speak up, please? You don't have to do that. Just speak up.
where's the Well, the problem is the microphone keeps spinning around, so it's not picking up.
I hate to inconvenience yourself like that.
Well, that's what I get for not having the
Anyway.
garage to use. So,
Yep.
I don't know. For weeks it was working fine, and now it's just being a pain in the ass. So, yeah, as I was saying, Liberty Tree Collectors actually still has Fiocchi ammo for sale, but it is sold as 8 Lebel, not on the box, but 8mm French Ordnance. So
Your buddy wants to know if we can staple that microphone to your head.
no, welcome. Because then I just bleed all over the place, because that makes a mess, because head wounds bleed.
Spudman's comment.
Anyway.
Spudman wants you to tape the mic to your face.
Yeah, I know, I saw that. Blah. Anyway. So. All right. So, our first question. Question for the next show. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who have been part of the Reloading podcast over the years. I've not missed an episode. You offer valuable information, and I appreciate your time that you sacrifice to produce the podcast. I would appreciate your insight and advice on my question. I have a Sierra 150 grain Pro Hunter flat nose with a power jacket and 30 caliber. Sierra product number 2000 bullets. They are made for use in the 30-30, but I would like to load them for my 308 Winchester. Bolt action. Sierra mentions on their website that it's possible to use them in many other 30 calibers as long as you do not exceed 25 to 2600 feet per second. I cannot find reloading data for that specific bullet for the Winchester. Closest I can find in my reloading manuals is a Sierra 150 grain round nose, but I suspect it is a slightly longer projectile and of more sturdy construction than the power jacket flat nose projectile. Would it be safe to use the load data for the round nose on the flat nose? Excuse me a second. Would it be, it seems similar, but I'm unsure of the way the two projectiles differ. For example, bearing surface and what impact that would have on pressure and so forth. I thought about using IMR 4064 or 3031. That's about all I have available at the local firearms store. Starting a minimum of charge weight, aiming to stay under 2600 as suggested by Sierra. Also something that I'm wondering about is the minimum charges listed in reloading manuals for specific projectile safe. I have heard of instances where an undercharge could cause the powder in the cartridge to detonate, or is that something to worry about when only going way below the listed minimum charge? One last question. The 2,500, 2,600 feet per second maximum velocity that Sierra suggests, would that refer to where the bullet construction would fail and the bullet would come apart in the barrel or midair from simply firing it, or do they suggest that the maximum velocity for reliable expansion when using the bullet for hunting purposes? My objective with this bullet is just to fireform new Lapua brass and to do it safely. I will not be using it for hunting or target shooting. I am not worried about accuracy either. I just want to fireform the cases and get them ready for load development with the 178 grain ELDX bullets that I'm trying out. 308 I'm using is a Howa 22-inch heavy barrel 1 in 10 twist. Any advice or information would be greatly appreciated. I know I can go and buy or trade these bullets and just go buy the correct ones, but they have sentimental value to me. Yes, I know that sounds silly, but I got them from my father, who passed away almost 3 years ago. It was the last batch of reloading supplies he bought. He was the one who introduced me to reloading at the age of 5, and I have many fond memories and would like to make use of these bullets, and I think using them for fireforming might be the perfect way to use them. Once again, thank you very much for the podcast. You are performing a very important service to the reloading community by keeping the podcast going. I would greatly appreciate it if you could answer my question on one of the Reloading podcast episodes. Regards from South Africa, Bartholo.
Simple. Buy a 30-30. Reload for that.
Jason, you're a butthead. And the simple answer, my simple answer to Bartholo is, number one, check your your bullet diameter. Paul Nelson came up with a very good point. Make sure the 308 diameter. If they're 308 diameter, Bartholo, you should be fine. Because 2600, what's the standard velocity for the 150 grain service load in 308? 2630, 2700?
That sounds about right.
That might even be a little slow. But you should be all right in Bartholo. For fire forming, absolutely.
And we're probably pronouncing his name wrong, so I apologize for that.
Well, we're pronouncing it the way it's spelled. It could be Bartolo, but I don't know. Bartholo?
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm looking up. I don't want 30-6. I want 308.
I have a sidebar for that question, for Bartholo's comment and question.
Go ahead.
Mister, you need to get a life if you listen to every episode of the Reloading Podcast. But thank you. We're all very highly honored. Yeah, see there, our friends are not immune to getting nailed once in a while, right, Jason?
Yep.
Yeah, so if he wants to keep it under 2600, that's not even halfway through the powder range. I mean, your max load for that is 2980.
Almost 3, okay. That is a little light.
So, I mean, that should be fine. Given that he's in South Africa and that's all he's got for powder, that kind of limits him. So that's for our previous conversation about my microphone, Jim.
I saw it the first time.
I thought I'd just make sure.
Yeah. And Paul Nelson put up a comment to not refute, but to elaborate on his comment about the 307 diameter bullet. I agree with him. The older 3030 bullets were 307, 0.307. Anyway, his comment was, I just looked at my 150 grain flat nose 307 bullet, but Sierra lists the new bullets as 0.308. Use a starting charge for 150 grain bullet. Everybody does it, but it's not necessarily the way it should. The reloading manuals recommend, but everybody uses 150 grain load information interchangeably. You know, the bearing surface on a 30-30 or 150 grain round nose bullet, flat base is quite a bit longer than it would be for a match hollow point bow tail. Those bow tails, they take up a lot of the bearing surface. Maybe 15, 20, something like 20, 25%. 20% maybe. Nick, you got anything to add?
No, just looking at my reloading from Sierra, he's talking about that round nose. Looking at 4064, it starts at, I'm not going to say data, but around 25, 30 feet per second and goes all the way up to exceeding about 2850. So he's got a wide range of space to work with as far as if he uses 4064. So
yeah, it's a good bit slower than 3031. So that's good advice right there, Nick. Thank you.
Yep.
I was just looking to see if I get more information on that. So, but as far as the overall design of the bullet, it looks pretty similar to the the round, not the round nose, but as far as design, it looks like the 110 grains for that which you would use in a 30 carbine, almost. Only heavier, and they have a hollow point. So, or well, jacketed flat nose. I shouldn't say hollow point. So, but yeah, I would say definitely. Especially if he's just looking at fire forming. Probably just minimum charge.
Yeah, there's no sense in blowing up a whole lot of burning up a whole lot of powder just to fire for him.
Right. As far as a second thought, which is, da, 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 da. Where did it go? Undercharge detonation. Yes, you can, but there isn't really any solid data to back up if you are 10% below your, or 20% below your max charge, that it's going to be a guaranteed detonation, or 30% below, that's guaranteed detonation. There isn't any hard, fast data out there. Unfortunately, it's one of those things they don't really test, but they should.
They can't because they can't duplicate it.
Well, they can, but they don't want to blow up their pressure barrels. So,
You got a point there.
because those are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, basically, the guaranteed safe range is you're 10% below your max. So, anything beyond that, it's entirely possible that you could have some issues.
Please highlight Chris Sharp's
Yep.
question.
Yep. So, I think we have a third part for this, though. No, that's it. So part of this also, since we're talking about 308 and 3030 and so on and so forth, Chris Sharp wanted to know if the old 3030 bullets were 307. When did they change? And short of slugging the barrel to make sure is there a year that they changed this?
No, not that I know of. I just know that when I first got into reloading in the 80s, that the bullets were .307, and then all of a sudden, next time I bought them, several years go by, I load up some for my son here in the 90s, or no, in the 2000s, maybe even 2010s. I find out that my son's rifle takes a 308 bullet, and that's what I was loading. But I can't give you an answer on that, Chris. Sorry. And the only way to reliably check it would be to slug the barrel, as you said. And you could do that. You could do that with a 3/8 lead ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you're shooting regular bullets, not cast through it, you'll be fine with a 308, even if it's a 307, because they don't designate anywhere where they changed the actual diameter of it. So I think of what it was is it used to be made it a slightly smaller bullet for whatever stupid reason. And then somebody figured out, no, you should actually be putting a 308 bullet down the barrel because it actually is more accurate. Because it's now listed even as Sammy Specs at 308.
Really? Sammy Specs call out 307?
No, 308.
Oh.
It's the same way if you buy like 30 carbine bolts. Like I'm on the graph right now. For instance, their PPU 110 grain bullet they have is a 307, but if you look, they have the exact same thing. By who was that by? I just saw it. What was that? Here's a Barry. Barry's is a 308. So it all depends. If you look at Sammy for a 30 carbine, it's 308. So it all, I think it depends on manufacturer a lot of times too.
Come on, computer. And it's not even what I want. I was trying to bring it up so I could screen share, but it doesn't. Can't get it to cooperate. So that's not what I want. So anyway, so that kind of covers that. I mean, if you really don't want to use the bullets or you're really worried, you could just use paraffin or wax. So, and as Paul Nelson just said, the gun will not notice the 308 because the 308 is the standard load with new data. So, and that's true. It's not going to notice. I mean, imagine if you slugged your bower. One of the people in the chat said something about they got one from a family member from back in the 60s. Pretty sure if they slug the bore on that, it's probably not a 307. It's probably a 308 or 309. So, but all right. So next question. Hello, gang. I know primers are a hard item to find, but I'm trying to reload 308 Win and have found some large rifle Magnum primers. I've heard of some people using 308 and reducing their powder charges by 10% starting. Do you guys think this is a safe practice, or should I just wait to find the proper components? I've been reloading for a couple of years, but I've never had any issues finding what I need. So I've had to I've had to deviate from reloading manual. I don't know what that was supposed to see. Anyway, his text actually says, so I've had to deviate from reloading manuals, and I don't really trust online forums. So I'm guessing that was supposed to be I've rarely had to deviate from reloading manuals, and I don't trust online forums. Just wondering your guys' opinion. I recently bought a Scar 17, and I'm just looking to make some practice plinking rounds, so nothing match grade. Thanks, Ramiro. Jorgen said, large rifle Magnum, just use a ball powder. You can do that, depending on what powder you have. The biggest problem you have going from a standard primer to a Magnum primer, whether it's small pistol, small rifle, large pistol, large rifle, is it does change not necessarily completely the pressure, but it does change the pressure band more than anything because of the way it ignites the powder. So, and that's not scientific. So don't go making scientific discoveries on my behalf about that. But basically what happens is if you're on the lower end of that scale of min to max, probably going to be okay. But just like we always say, test and look at results. If you're towards the max, you're not going to want to do that because you are greatly increasing your chances of going over. So,
well, those detonations, the underload detonations we're talking about, were like severe underloads of slower powders, like stuff like IMR 4831 or IMR 4350. Those charges were designed to shoot with compressed loads or near compressed loads or full loads, shall we say. But the detonations that I recall hearing and reading about were caused by pretty severe underloads of the slower powders. Yeah, the reason why I brought that comment up, thanks to Paul Nelson, he reminded me that a lot of those powders we're talking about were fast powders, shall we say. Fast rifle like 4064. 3031 is a very fast rifle powder. I don't think you can actually detonate that particular one.
All right. I'll just read through the chat. So Justin Vance said he's a bench shooter. In his primer tests, he's seen 20 to 30 feet per second faster when going from a CCI B4 to a CCI 450. So, Paul Nelson said, does he have a load? If so, load down 5% from the load.
Well, loading down that small amount will not cause a detonation. I'm going to speculate. That's just not starving the cartridge enough to cause the underload. I'm going to guess, but guys, remember, you guys are on your own out there. This is just experience talking. I read a magazine article. Maybe John Smith wrote it. This could have been 15 years ago that I'm talking about. I don't know.
All right. Hang on a second here. All right. So Adam DeLucia sent in some pictures a couple weeks ago. He was talking about case head separation issues and just wanted to make sure it wasn't it. So he sent a couple of pictures and we're going to share those up here. And action. All right. So here's just a first picture. He was just showing this for scratches on his neck from the brass from his bolt gun. These scratches right here, if you follow his thumbnail across towards the front, I'm not, maybe something in the chamber possibly, but that looks more like from being ejected than anything. And so then what he did is he cut it in half. Unfortunately, the picture is not real clear on this one because his camera focused on the stuff in the background. But this third picture is what we're talking about. If you look, he's got a definite line there. So that's what he's asking about for incipient head case separation. But looking at the inside, I don't see anything on the inside as a correlation.
I agree with you, Mike. I don't see any case head separation beginning. That case wall looks nice and straight. There's no thin spot on it.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's... without knowing what cartridge it is, it could be a belted Magnum and that could be the belt there that he's wondering about on the outside.
Yeah, that would be about 100 thousandths above the belt.
So yeah, because
But
if you're looking at the
that image you've got up there, Mike, right now, that doesn't show a belt. And I'm thinking that's a 308 case. Or it could be a 243 or a 22 250. But that doesn't
yeah,
look like a belted
so
Magnum to me.
no, it doesn't.
Can you expand that picture even more, Mike, please?
Um,
If not, I understand. Jason, you got a better image than I do on that?
It's not very good, no.
no, it's not very clear.
Needs more light.
Well, part of the problem is he didn't shoot on a basic background. He shot it with text. So instead of focusing on the brass, it focused on the text.
Mm.
So but yeah, looking at this, there's no evidence at all. So as far as the scratches on the neck here, I guess the biggest problem is I can't see the rim to see if there's correlating extractor scratches on the rim. That would indicate that when it's being extracted, that's being dragged across something on its way out. Would be the only thing I could think of. So. Anyway. So that's Adam's question. But yeah, I didn't really see anything on there either, but I wanted to share with everybody else and get everybody else's opinion. Excuse me. All right. I'm looking. I had another question, and I don't know where it went. So bear with me a second. I guess I didn't have another question. All right.
Hey, Mike, that's a good one from on Facebook from Shane at 743. That might be a good one
Okay.
to talk a little bit about.
All right. Hi guys. I'll be starting to hand load for the 6.5 Creed in the near future. I've previously only reloaded pistol in the past. I bought the Hornady reloading dies and I was surprised to see just 2 dies in the box, a sizing die and a seating die. I'm assuming you don't need an expander die like for pistol. Also, do you recommend a factory crimp die that is available separately from Lee? Also, which powder dispenser would you recommend? Thanks in advance. Okay, so yeah, your basic rifle dies are only 2. Because you don't need an expander, typically. I mean, if you were going to be loading cast, you probably would want an expander, but unlike handgun, you're not going to really have that issue. So, and your sizing and everything with your rifles is a little bit different than your handguns. A little more precise, so the bullets fit better, I guess. would be the easiest way to explain it. So, factory crimp die from Lee. If you're going to crimp, that's the one I recommend.
But and I respect Mike's opinion. I think the man's right. If you're going to crimp, use it. But I will also interject in rifle ammo, depending upon the rifle you use. If you're using a bolt gun, Shane, you aren't going to need to crimp. And if you're using a slam bang, that would be a semi-automatic rifle. Even those, I feed an AR, I feed a Mini 14. Every long gun I have, I never crimp the brass onto the bullet. Now 30-30 is a little different. Reloading for 30-30, it needs a crimp just to hold the bullet into the case. But that's where the Lee factory die comes in very well. Lee factory crimp die comes in very well. But anyway, I wouldn't worry about a factory crimp myself, but Mike's right, and I agree with him. If you're going to crimp, use the Lee FCD. Jason, you got something to add?
I wouldn't worry about crimping, personally.
Well, you loaded a 6.5 Creedmoor in an AR, right?
No, 308 in an AR.
Oh, my sorry, I thought.
My Creedmoor bolt gun.
Okay. Well, that certainly does. To me, I don't think any bolt gun needs a crimp die.
Yeah, I load for 6.5 for a bolt gun as well. I wouldn't crimp. I don't crimp at all, as long as I have proper neck tension. If I were to add one thing I would get if I were Shane, especially him having the Hornady dies, get the piece that goes on your seating die, the micrometer seating extension. It helps with consistent seating depth. That's something I would get that for adding onto that die, so you can get it consistently.
To go hand in hand with that, once you figure out what bullet you're going to use, get a hold of Hornady and get the correct seating stem for that bullet.
Good point.
Hornady makes different stems depending on your bullet shape, so that way you're not squishing your tips. Because you can go ahead and spend all the time you want getting your concentricity right, getting your load depth correct, getting everything set perfectly. And if you crush the heck out of the nose of the bullet, it could cause issues.
Mike, expand on what this whole question. Shane Donnelly just posted at 9 p.m. that he will be reloading for Ruger Precision and Masterpiece Arms 6.5 Creedmoor. And I know the Ruger Precision rifle is a bolt gun. I don't know about the Masterpiece Arms.
Masterpiece is a bolt gun as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Shane. You just, we don't think you're going to, none of us think you're going to need to crimp.
Yeah, honestly, no. The only reason you would need to crimp is if you're not getting your neck tension correct. And then you just need to fix that.
Exactly, and that's another issue altogether.
Paul Nelson thought this was so important. He said it twice. So show me a crimp groove on 6.5 bullets.
Paul, you are one serious smartass. Good man. I like that.
So, how come we be right though? Because Sharp's on this same side of the agreement.
Sir?
So Crip Sharp said, I load for 6.5 for bolt and AR-10 and don't crimp. Like Nick said, with proper neck tension, you should be fine. How can we be right if Sharp's agreeing with us?
That's it. I'm crimping for 6.5 from now on.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Slam bang, Chris Sharp, you are an outcast. You always will be.
Yeah. Where to go? So Shane said he's using 147 grain ELD match. Yeah, definitely get a hold of Hornady and get your seating stem.
Yep.
So
Another thing. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say there is one kind of exception to the not crimping. Yeah, if you get correct neck tension, that's fine. But there's two reasons to crimp. Well, three. One, your neck tension's not correct in the first place. Two, for consistency of ignition, if you're crimping, it's a theory, and I don't know if it's actually, how serious it is, but there is a theory out there among some shooters that if you're crimping, then it gives everything the exact same starting point. So they all hit the same pressure before they go down the barrel. So it's supposed to affect you. It's supposed to help you with groups and stuff. But the more important thing, and the third reason to crimp would be what Idaho Rogers said, his hunting loads. If he's going to be trashing up and down the mountain or carrying on horseback for miles and miles and miles. Yeah, if you're hunting loads, a lot of those are factory crimp to begin with, and you may want to look at crimping them. The other reason, not in 6.5, but larger calibers, could be bullet setback. Jason, what's bullet setback?
The bullet sets back from recoil.
There you go. So, like, say for your 500.
Yes, sir.
So, or 300 Win Mag, or
actually,
do I have to let him in?
I think that would be no. Don't let him in unless he's got his teddy and he's wearing his jams.
And if he's going to send you that box.
Oh, that box is gone. I'm never getting that box.
Yeah, not now.
I
don't know what happened to my kid, but he walked to the door and goes, "Liberals," and stomped upstairs.
Travis, you've been slammed hard by a teenager.
No, he wasn't calling Travis that. He just got home from work.
Oh.
So, anyway.
And you're right. Crimping will help with bullet slippage on handguns and on rifles. The bullet actually gets set back into the cartridge because it slams into the nose of the magazine well.
Yep. So, Paul Loud, you're a little late on that comment. He said, Buckeye targets. Jason says you can't join him until you send him the tracking number for his packages.
Uh-oh. Now he's mad and he walked away.
Oh, good grief.
Took his ball and went home.
You are merciless.
So John's hand loading joined us.
Oh, there's a box. There's a one rate box, flat rate box.
Okay, let's see what I'm going to take out for that comment. Oh, do you like these?
Yes.
You shoot those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll just take them. Okay, we'll set them to the side. Okay. Now, when you behave, things will go back into the box.
I was behaving. Right up until you showed up. You made me pick on you.
Oh, crap, I forgot. Yeah. John's hand loading.
Yeah.
I forgot that debate is going on right now.
I didn't. When we were talking about what are you watching the beta, I said no, I will be happy recording my podcast.
There you go.
So
more informative.
That's right. Paul Nelson says crimp on 375 or larger dangerous game rifles. Absolutely. So, I mean, there are certain cases where you do crimp, period. It's not a negotiable. So, Excuse me. Jorgen said that RCBS dies, leaving my 375 Ruger Hornady cases with 1,000ths of neck test, and if I don't crimp the bullets, can move 30,000ths on one firing. Yeah. So, he's talking about grinding down the expander ball on a sharpening stone. So the only thing I would worry about with that is concentricity. I mean, that's going to be the issue you're going to run into with that is you're going to have to somehow guarantee consistent rotation.
Yeah,
And-
wouldn't it be
and
easier just to
consistent
buy the
pressure.
correct expander ball you want?
Could be. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing with that. So, Jorgen said, check it up in the drill and remove the thousands. It'll be fine, Mike. It's a possibility, if you're good enough.
But it won't be concentric.
That's the thing is, how do you make sure that it's exactly 1,000?
By hand, there's no way.
So, that would be the challenge. But I understand the thought process behind it, Jorgen. So. All right. So originally the plan was to start shot shells tonight, but for two reasons we're not. Because A, Sharenda's not here, and B, she didn't get any 209 primers yet. So we are going to start next week regardless of whether Sharenda's working overtime or not. Oh, Russ has got a visitor. Here you go, Russ. Here's your visitor. Hi, Gracie. You're a goofy dog. You're goofy. So, this is my bunny killer. She got one in the backyard the other night, and I let her out at like 3 in the morning, and all of a sudden I noticed she's eating on something. Because I was watching the little one to make sure no owls swoop down and grab him. And so I'm watching, and all of a sudden I realize she's eating something. She's got a headless bunny. So, yeah, so she smoked another bunny the other night. Anyway, so Jorgen's comment is, how do you lose concentricity when only removing 1,000ths or 2 on a 6,000 grit stone? You can only lose as much concentricity as material you remove. Yes. But it depends on how serious you are about it. I mean,
How evenly can you?
I mean, theoretically, 1,000ths isn't going to really make a frickin' difference. So, yes, Jorgen, you're correct in that point. So, and he says, I get the grinding won't be perfectly even, but with only 1,000ths or 2 over mobile, it shouldn't even matter. More of a polish than anything. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm just pointing that out for those people that are actually seriously going to do this for whatever they're going to do and aren't going to just take 1,000ths off. So, but Gracie, give me that little turd. Paul Nelson said, if you're worried about big out around on a 375 bullet versus setback, you have other problems. So, anyway. So, yeah, like I said, next week we're going to start with shot shell for sure. Absolutely, positively. So. Sorry. Okay, so Mike Zello 1 wants to know anybody convert their beat up 223 cases to 762 by 25 Tokarev. Well, yes, Mike, you should have been here for last week's show. Nick, do you still have that handy?
I don't. It's at my other house, my parents'
Dang it.
house. So.
All right. So,
But
Mike,
it's
you need to go back, watch last week's show.
Yeah.
So, as you were going to say, Nick?
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, we'll go back and watch last week's show. I kind of cover a good broad topic about converting 223 brass to 762 Tokarev. It's pretty easy. If you already do 300 blackout, you already have the jig. I just made a little bracket or a little piece of aluminum filler piece to offset the brass. But other than that, it's pretty easy.
So, how much shorter is the Tokarev? Do you cut the Tokarev versus the 300?
I don't remember. I think it was 0.975 around there. That's
Okay.
in my head right now. I had it written down. I need to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get that found and I'll give it to you so you can put it in the show notes.
Sounds good. Travis, what did you do in guns and firearms and reloading?
Well, not much. Like I've told you guys, I've been working on my new reloading room. So I have loaded up. I did get a shipment of 147 grain projectiles from Acura. So right now I'm looking at 4,000 up on the shelf. And I just loaded 3,000.
How many more matches do you have this year?
Kind of just,
Yeah,
a couple. Yeah, I'm a fair weathered shooter, so once it gets too cold, there's two ranges. They go all year. They don't care how cold it is, but those are the ones I kind of skip on. They're a little too cold for me.
I can't say that I blame you.
But no, right now I am looking at a couple of 338 Lapua RCBS die sets. Just kind of waiting for the next smart remark Jason makes so I can take these out of his box. Just kind of looking these things over there. Kind of larger than normal.
Yeah, look at them fancy things.
And us guys, we don't hear that very often. Oh, there he is. Look what I'm looking at, Jason. You know what these are?
338 dice.
Oh, they are. Yeah. Gold medal match too.
Nice.
It sure would be a shame too if I even got you. Look at that. I even got you for your 650. Or is this for a 550? What do you use? 550 or 650?
I'll use either one.
Okay, well that's good because this is for a 550.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis, did you see Sharp's comment? He says, send him to Phil as a tease. That'd be like a double tease.
If you guys remember, do you remember, Mike? I think I text you like it was my time, maybe midnight or 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it was like 2 a.m. when I got the text.
Yeah, and I said, dude, you got to get over to Palmetto State Armory. They're doing a clearance on all their dies and stuff. So
screw it. I'm going back to sleep. And I shouldn't have.
Yeah, because I think I looked at every single page, every single item. I think there was if I remember right, it was 1,538 items they were clearancing out.
Yeah.
Those were one of them. I got those for $30-$40. But they were selling other dies individual for 25 cents, crazy prices. So I was buying everything I possibly could. And those I picked up as a tease for Phil.
Right.
If you guys remember that, he was that was his dream to get a 338. So I got him those dies, and I said, "You get that 338. These dies will go to you." But Jason, he drives a 4-wheel drive. He's more manly, so he went ahead and he picked up that 338 before Phil did. So now these just have to automatically go to Jason. That's just how it works.
They have to?
Are you saying you don't want them?
No, I'm just asking you. So it's confirmed I'm getting them?
Well, they're in your box.
Yeah.
These aren't, but everything else is in your box.
So, Hunt Shoot Off-Road's got a question for you, Travis.
What is that? What is that? But what is that? Crap. What is that? Schrodinger's cat? Is that kind of part how that works, though?
I think so.
We don't know what's in the box. Hey, just for fun, if you guys don't care, let's just take a look what's in the box.
Sure.
I mean, Jason, he hasn't gotten the box yet, so maybe this will help tide him over just a little bit. And if there's anything in here, Jason, you don't want. So I've got 100 of these 44 cal, because you do shoot 44 special, right?
Mag.
Yeah, he
Okay.
doesn't bother with special.
So there's some of those for you.
Yeah.
We just showed the 338 Lapua shell plate. Got the gold medal match RCBS 338 Lapua dies. Oh, and you shoot a 45 Colt, right?
I do.
There's a whole bag of brass for you.
Nice.
Yep. There's your 44 mag brass right there. You got a whole bag of 44 Magnum brass for you.
Cool.
And they're not in this box yet, but there's a couple of A stand kits going in there for you too.
Nice.
Like I say, I just randomly throwing stuff in there until the box is completely full. So just so you guys know, the box does exist.
Or Jason becomes a smartass again.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's people out there thinking the box didn't even exist. So you guys saw the box exists. There is items in the box too.
Speaking of boxes, by the way, so everybody knows, Shrendon now does have the shot shell loader.
Yeah, she's got video of it on YouTube.
Does Jim have his box though?
I know. But there's a reason Jim doesn't have his box yet.
Why?
Because I want to send that plate for the 550 at the same time.
Ah.
So. Ouch. So Sharenda actually got 2 boxes. So the first one was the shot shell press with all of the bushings and a couple of separate bars. The second box, courtesy of the United States Postal Service, was, I think, 100, 150 double A hulls and 25 pounds of lead shot.
Very cool.
So that was kind of the way to make up for taking so long to get the shot shell press out.
So does Sharinda have shot and everything? She's just missing primers?
Yep, but she doesn't have pink holes. She wants to have some pink holes. So
get some paint out.
I think here's a backhanded slap in the YouTube chat, particularly from Paul Nelson at 921. Jason, I would be worried about that 45 Colt brass. It's probably balloon head brass. I'd say he's trying to say that Travis has held on to that brass so long that it's old balloon head brass, not the modern stamp brass. Travis, did you happen to look down in those cases? 45 Colt, is it balloon head brass? Do you even know what balloon head brass is?
I don't even know what that is.
It's where they use sheet metal instead of the modern cups. where they literally use sheet metal and folded the case into a 45 Colt. Now he's got a look. We'd have to see inside the mouth of one of the cases, Travis.
Well, I'm not opening the bag.
I don't blame you. Good slap, Paul.
All right, so one of the questions that passed by while we were there is talking about the other stuff. Nick, GGW Reloading wants to know anything special I need to know to reload 8x57 Mauser for an older Czech rifle. I don't think he should. I don't think he should do that. I think he should send all of that to me because that could be dangerous. We need to test this out first. The rifle and all of the reloading stuff. GGW, we don't want you to hurt yourself, so you should send that all to me so we can test it first safely.
Probably
Remember,
anyway, so it would just be safe to send it to Mike.
Well, this way too. You remember, Iceland shipping it's safe. It's safe and it's secure.
Oh,
we just don't know how fast it is.
Yep.
So nobody promised. Hunt Shoot Off Road said, "Did he say double A hole?" No, I said double A hull, HULL, as in Winchester double A's.
Take it however you want it.
Right? At least I sent her the red ones. I was going to send her the gray ones.
Just like Jason's favorite saying is, "You old bass turd."
I think I seen a movie like that once.
Yep. Well, that's no fun, GDW Reloading. It's not even his. So why are you asking the question then if it's not yours? So, dang kids. Anyway, Nick, now that we're done being smart, Alex, you want to actually answer the question?
It all depends on, a lot of times I look at condition of the gun. If it's in good condition, first thing I would do, especially if it's not mine, try to headspace it. So if it doesn't headspace, I wouldn't shoot it. Depending on what gauge it is, if it closes on like a no-go and it's a tight close on a no-go, you can kind of shoot it, but you want to do like cast loads through it and light loads. But if it doesn't close on a no-go, you're fine. I don't stress my guns out. So what I would do is I'd probably cast for it in general. I'd probably powder coat my bullets that once I cast them. Other than that, do a starting load and just work up slowly from there is what I would do. So,
yeah, I like this guy. He's got a nice shirt on, powder coats.
Oh boy.
Well, you did it, Travis. I just had to throw this out there.
Throw what?
Yeah, we're waiting. He's typing.
It's there.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that could
it's not a real popular hashtag.
No, we're just saying in the case of the Milsurp rifles. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So
hey, could some of those Milsurp rifles though? What's that real thick grease they come in?
Cosmoline.
Couldn't that Cosmoline just be a form of ALOX?
No.
Don't even clean them up. Just stick a pure lead projectile in there, and as it goes down the barrel, it gets coated.
Oh God! I just watched Jerry Mitchell do an obstruction bore obstruction video on Facebook.
Travis, the problem is if you coat it in Cosmoline and go to shoot it down the barrel, it'll stop about halfway down.
Yeah, with a split barrel.
That's what happens when you shoot ALOX too, folks. Don't stay away. You heard it here first.
Oh wow.
John's hand loading. I like that.
Jim, was that a new video from Jerry?
It was on today, is all I can tell you.
Anyway. So Yeah, I like the idea of powder coating, lower pressure. Make sure you're using Boxer prime brass and not Berdan. So
Especially with it being a Czech rifle.
yeah,
Trying to get on my collecting side here. Czech rifles bring a little bit of money
yep.
more than any of your other like Turkish Mausers. If it was a Turkish Mauser, I'd say just
Who
load base.
cares?
Exactly. I love my Turkish Mausers, but Czech rifles bring about some pretty decent money. They're not German Mausers, but they're up there. So be careful when you do reload for that. So
Well, a lot of those VZ-24s were actually made from the original Mauser dies that Germany brought over when they moved the plants when they took over Czechoslovakia. So, so he has eight. He has 8 pieces of brass. Sounds to me like he needs to go visit our friends over at Starline, or go buy some PPU and
that's what
shoot
I'd
it.
say. PPU is the way to go. That, or if you can find Winchester, because Winchester
Yeah.
has pretty good 8mm Mauser brass. That's what I've been using a lot lately.
Okay.
I say go to Graphs or Titan. I don't know if Titan has it in stock right now.
That's right. I forgot that Dennis and the gang expanded what they carry over there now. I gotta
Take a
get
look
over there again.
quick. Brass.
So
So Hookem clogged 2 barrels with Alox coated bullets.
it's hook 'em.
I've never heard of that.
I would bet you money Hookem was loading and
He got
You know.
himself loaded.
forgot to put a little powder in those cases, maybe.
Mm.
How in the hell do you actually get 2 bullets stuck in the bore?
Well, have
2
you seen the
squib loads. That's
picture
yeah. Two,
of the revolver that had 19 stuck in the barrel?
Yeah, that's impressive.
that is.
I think it was a Ruger. So, Eat Bacon wants to know. I've got 2 different boxes of factory Federal 12 gauge Sabode slugs. One box is marked for use in fully rifled barrels only. Is this a safety warning or an accuracy warning? The other box is not marked like the first one. I wanted to shoot through a smoothbore with a rifled choke tube. So if they're both Sabots, if they're both Sabode slugs, don't shoot them through a smoothbore. You can get the rifled choke, but honestly, it really, really is a waste of money. Seriously. For the little amount of spin that it puts on it, you might as well just shoot the rifled slugs to begin with, and use an improved cylinder choke, because you're not going to gain any sort of accuracy performance out of using a rifled choke. If you're serious and you want to shoot Sabode slugs, get a fully rifled barrel. It's an accuracy warning, not a safety warning, because with the Sabots, there's nothing to put a spin on those as they're going down a smooth bore. And with a rifled choke, even if the rifled choke's 3 inches long, that's not a lot of time to really put a good spin on that. And it's definitely not enough time to well, I shouldn't say it's not enough time, but it is far enough down that you're actually going to lose performance, because it's going to slow down when it hits that rifling. Unlike a fully rifled barrel, which starts out in the rifling. So, Paul Nelson said fully rifled barrel slugs demand a rifled barrel for accuracy. Yes. So,
So Hookem said the grooves are filled with lead, a Glock, and a Springfield.
so it was 2 barrels.
So you leaded your barrels and you blame it on Alox. You're wrong, Mark.
Eat bacon, depending on what type of shotgun it is in the first place. I guess, well, see, there's a whole entire conversation about this. Are you in an area where you have to use a shotgun? Okay. If so, save your pennies, get a fully rifled barrel for the shotgun. Unless, of course, that's not an option. Then just go buy, you can get a Mossberg 500 combo for, like, if you can find them anyway, for like $350. Check your Walmarts and stuff like that. We've been out of them at Cabela's for a long time, but Walmart usually has a stock of those things too. It comes with a 20-inch fully rifled barrel, or 24-inch. I think it's 20-inch, and then the 28-inch field barrel with screw-in chokes. The thing will outlive you, even if unless you're Paul Nelson trap shooting, or somebody like that where they're doing a lot of trap shooting every year. It's going to outlive you. So, but they make a great little, either the 500s or the 870 slug combos make a great little deer slayer. And you use the Savode slugs and away you go. So. Dang it, Idaho Rogers for USMC. That's tough. He says, I'm back. Little woman came home and was hell-bent on disturbing my gun hobby time. That's rough. So.
I think
Oh, well, that takes all the fun out of it. I was going to make Travis beg for that. Hook him, you schmuck. He's going to send him the ringtone. So. But.
I got a question today from GGW Reloading.
Yes.
He bought a new Lyman mold.
Yeah.
And he heard something about heat cycling them before using them for the first time. I've heard of that. I think I did that once. I don't know that I ever really noticed anything jumping out at me like it helped or anything. You guys got any thoughts on that? Steel molds?
Yeah, so I've never used steel molds, but that's what we do. We do heat cycle them with our aluminum ones. Jim, what do you say on the steel molds?
I've used brand new steel molds. I started casting I just kept casting until they gave me good bullets. Then I cast 2,000 bullets, 430 caliber, 120 grain bullet. I think it was 130 grain lead bullet. But anyway, the heat cycling you're talking about, is that where you're talking about putting a mold on a hot plate to warm it up?
Yep.
Either on a hot plate or in an oven. Like when I get the new NOE molds, they recommend that you do the heat cycle. So I put them in an oven at 400 degrees for, I can't remember, 10, 15 minutes. And you do that a couple times. But I've never used steel molds.
Well, the steel molds I have, the only thing I do is I just keep casting until they produce good bullets.
So is that an every time thing then, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't warm them up, Travis, unless I have to walk away from the pot. Then I'll just set the pot or the mold on the back rim of the pot just to warm it, let it warm up.
But I think the heat cycling, the idea behind the heat cycling,
it's a break-in procedure.
It's a break-in procedure, and it helps control in a way the two molds from expanding and contracting and getting your projectiles inconsistently round, with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think it's not aluminum, as we all know. It transfers heat very easily, and that's why it's cheaper to make. So for like Jim and I and Mike and Jason, Nick, all those who are reloading or casting, we're more than likely we're using cast or aluminum molds, and they're giving us excellent heat transfer. They also cool down faster. Steel ones take longer to heat up and then longer to cool down. So I would think just steel molds wouldn't need that heat cycle as much. And then someone in the comments says that that's what they do with their NOE molds. You don't do it every time you cast. You're just doing that once you get them before you start casting.
Well, the other thing is too, Travis, you mentioned the fact you do this heat cycle. It's a stupid comment, but you want to take those handles off before you heat cycle them, because your handles are made out of wood. At that temperature, it's going to scorch at least. That's a stupid comment. I just realized what y'all are talking about. If NOE recommends it, I'm all for it. If they recommend the heat cycle, go for it. I've never done it, never heard of it until today.
Jim, have you ever had? It's worse on, let's say, a 6-cavity Lee mold. But have you ever used a Lee mold and eventually you start noticing, when the two molds come together, sometimes you get that little tiny, it doesn't affect anything, but you can see that cast line.
Yeah.
Have you ever got it to where it actually shifts a little bit more? And
yes.
then that's because your heat cycle, you've actually warped one side and it's allowed it to shift that little bit. So the idea of running it through that heat cycle is, you let them expand and contrast with each other and then get set with the pins, get set with each other, and then off you can go. Steel is completely different. So I'm going to have to ask some people, because I'm curious about this, but I would think steel is completely different. Just like brass would be completely different. I don't know if you have to do the same heat cycle with brass as you would with aluminum.
I have an NOE mold. Not an NOE mold, an ideal mold, 30 caliber. It's 180 grain round nose, and that rascal, it took me forever, but I cast 2,000 bullets with it. I still have the mold and handles, but it needed. I've seen it time, Travis. This is no lie. The first cast I put into this cold mold, it gave me good bullets. This is how old this is. Okay, but the other thing is too, the warpage you're talking about. I didn't realize I actually had warped up the mold from one side to the other. However, when I let it cool, it must have warped right back into the proper position. In other words, I got my mold too hot, which is possible. You cast too long.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits, guys. They like steel for is it does take longer to heat up to where we're getting those really nice projectiles coming out. But you can do longer casting sessions where, like, we're using aluminum. I have to run 2 molds. Every projectile I have, I get the exact same mold. And when I sit down to cast, I have those 2 sitting right there. And sometimes I even have a third of a different caliber. And I have my bucket of water because I water quench. So I'll be casting. And when I feel like the one's too hot, I set it to the side and I switch over to the other one. And you can get into a good rhythm to where you go back and forth and you can keep them both at the right, temperature. And you can keep going and you really extend your casting session.
I have a little trick for you, Travis. Jason, you remember Gerald Beatty?
Yes, sir.
He taught us a trick. The trick is you have a rag or a towel on your bench and you keep it moistened with water. And if your mold gets too hot, your aluminum molds especially, because you won't get an iron mold too hot. I never have. But anyway, you just cool the bottom of the mold off. Just tap it onto that moistened rag for a split second, take it off.
Yeah. And personally, I don't like that because my thought is if you have a hot aluminum mold and you start, I know it's
go ahead, Travis.
Someone who doesn't know what they're doing, I think they could really damage a mold. If they've got a cold sponge and then they're taking that hot mold and they're really, I feel like it could warp your mold. So personally, I don't do that. I know that technique. I know a lot of people who do that. You can watch Full Lead Taco. He's one of the guys out there on YouTube who, at least he used to have a lot of casting videos, and you can see he would have his bucket of water he would have his little towel in the water coming out. So when he dumped his projectiles, they'd fall in the water into the rag. But the rag secondary use was like you just said, Jim. It was hanging out enough that when he was casting, he could just swipe it onto that towel. But
Cool the mold down.
to cool the mold down. But I personally, I don't like that idea.
Well, that's fine. To each his own. You like apples, I
Right.
like oranges. But anyway, yeah, the heat cycle, it makes sense in a way for break-in. But after a while, you know, what's the point? You'll use it for warming up your molds when you go to cast. That's the only other thing I can see. I think we lost track.
Speaking of casting, Vemjum wants to know, have you seen 12 gauge rifle slug molds?
Lee Precision makes them.
Yep. Lee makes them.
Lee makes rifled slugs.
The slugs themselves will have the rifling. They also have a driving. They also have a key in the center.
Okay, I'm familiar with that one. I've
12
not
gauge
seen.
slugs. 12 gauge slugs.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm only familiar with the key drive slugs that Lee makes.
Maybe they don't have that anymore.
I know if you go to the Reloaders Network, Vemjin, there is some Russian molds that a lot of people are, you know, pretty happy with. They're not rifled, but apparently they're getting excellent accuracy with these Russian slug molds.
Hunt Shoot Off-Road's got an outstanding question up. Water and lead, is that safe?
Perfectly safe. Never an issue.
Now, water in lead is a very, very horrible idea. But to put hot lead into drop the hot bullets, like Travis said, he water quenches. I've water quenched. To drop your hot bullets directly into the lead, absolutely safe.
Not a problem.
Yeah, let's just expand on that a little bit, Jim, for
Sure.
those who are curious. What happens when the water gets under the surface of the lead?
You get
Steam
an
explosion.
instantaneous steam explosion, and the Tinsel Fairy does her best to decorate your face with scars and burns and injuries and ruin your eyes and everything else.
It will cause you to cuss a blue streak or two.
Yeah,
That Tinsel Fairy, she's an insidious bitch.
Yeah, so putting your projectiles in water, that's called water quenching. You actually can raise the Brinell hardness of those projectiles slightly. That's perfectly safe, but yeah, you don't want to get water in your lead pot.
Chris Sharp. He must have seen your picture, Jason.
I'll be honest, that's my preferred attire for casting.
Yeah, because it's hot.
I don't even wear gloves when I'm casting.
You know, well, I won't say what I was going to say, but I totally disagree with that procedure, Travis.
Yeah, Jim, when he's casting, he's got on a full leather welder's jacket, the welding hood. He's all geared up, all that PPE. Jason and I we're a little bit hardcore. We flip flops and no PPE, right, Jason?
Right.
And what do they say? Chicks dig scars.
Yes, they do.
Not even iPro.
Yeah, it's for
Jason, you don't wear iPro, at least for the casting? Yeah.
Jim, you're old school. How could you be so pro PPE?
Because he's worked in a shop where he's gotten chips and stuff thrown at him.
That Tinsel Fairy put a decoration on my lip right here. Right here, my upper lip. She put a scar on there. That thing took about 3 weeks to heal up.
So you let the Tinsel Fairy beat you.
I'd like to beat that bitch.
But it healed. Get over it. Move on.
Anyway, so no, in hunt shoot off road, your follow up comment is it's not on the mold faces itself. The mold is closed up, and the technique is to put the closed up mold momentarily, even like for half a second, just enough to so you hear it hiss, and it cools the bottom of the mold off somewhat.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
not-
hunt shoot off road. What is the do anybody that you guys? I mean, obviously Vemjan, he's casting, but what's the casting culture in Australia? Do you know anyone who is casting? Is it make sense for you guys to cast? Is lead not available? Is it available? What's comment here real quick and let us know what it's like in Australia.
I would bet it's quite a bit worth it because, like Michael, what was the guy that had the special crimping procedure or roll sizing procedure? He was talking about the horrible costs that the Aussies have to put up with just to reload, much less buy factory ammo.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Jim,
Yes, sir.
neither Lee or Lyman has actual true Foster slugs anymore.
Oh,
They're all smooth.
okay. Because
Yeah,
I thought
I've never seen one of these rifles. I mean, I haven't seen a rifled slug mold. Period.
That's what they used to be. Is they used to actually have the rifling on them, but
that's right.
they don't anymore. So I'm sure if you checked checked around, you could probably find them secondhand. So Vemjan says we can only buy lead from one place. Yes, his mate cast for 45.70. So
Yeah, I would just assume there's probably a lot of restrictions in Australia, and maybe the availability of lead isn't what it is here. I mean, it's getting worse for us, but I would imagine Australia is ahead on those restrictions. So that's kind of what I'm curious what that part's like, because I feel like if you can cast for it, it's always worth it. But then you got to come into the availability of that lead.
Vem Jam, I'll tell you what, that's a very good idea for the greenies. Is you're getting your unlimited lead from a small bore range. You're just cleaning up the range. That's right.
That's how I get all the lead.
Now
That's
see,
right.
we're all on the same page, because I've got a group that they shoot air rifles indoors,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy that I buy some lead from, he fills up gallon milk jugs, and then I go over and I buy those from him.
nice. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of different stuff out there, so lots of different ways to get stuff. But all right, gang. So that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. Anybody else? Anybody got any shout outs?
I got a shout out to Hunt Shoot Off Road. Nick's wearing a sweet shirt there, the Brass Goblin. I think everybody should go over there and pick one of those up, because they're extra sweet shirts. And then he does have a new video up. There's a goofy guy from the Reloading Podcast is on there. Just calls it Chit Chats. So if anyone's interested, you should go over to huntshootOffroad.com, pick up a shirt, and then go over and watch the video that he just posted.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't see anything on eBay either of the rifled slugs, so Anyway. John's hand loading wants to know, does a cap and ball pistol question have a place here? Yes, but not tonight. What's your question, John? Put your question in the chat, and then I will put it in the show notes to cover next time. So, Bemjum says you got to make your own hard cast. Line of types impossible to find. So, yeah. So you're basically pewter. Yep. Tin's too expensive to buy here too. So.
Last I heard, tin is like $15 a pound.
Yeah, tin's pretty expensive. So try and find pewter, secondhand stores and stuff like that. It's pretty great. So.
That's a good point, Chris Sharp. Thank you. And that would be to hit that like button.
Yep.
You know, I don't know what we got. 50 people in the chat. We have 15 likes.
So
now 16.
Thank you. If you don't like it, hit the thumbs down and leave a comment.
Yep.
So. But. All right. So on that note, gang, take time to swing over to firearmsradio.tv. Check out the other podcasts in the network. They're adding new stuff all the time. Take time to hit up the Brownells and Amazon affiliate links that are there. If you're going to Brownells or Amazon, it helps out the network. Thank you to everybody that sends us texts to 608-467-0308 and everybody who's sent voicemails in the past. Thank you to everybody who sends us emails at reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, MeWe, Discord, and Instagram. Travis does an awesome job running Instagram, so thank you. And
Don't we have a presence on the Reloading Network too?
Yes.
Which I have to say I have not posted.
Yeah, neither of
for
us
a while.
have for a while. So, Mark Hookham's wish they were only an hour because he hates editing. So, Mark, sorry. Someday. I think with the actually, Mark, you're going to be in for some luck. So when we start the actual instructions on loading, those are going to be an hour because we want people to pay attention to those, and we don't want them to get lost and everything. So next few weeks, they're going to be about hour 15. So thank you to all of our Patreons, current, past, and future. Just greatly appreciate everybody helping out. And on that note, keep that brass shiny.
Be an asset, not a liability.
He said ass.
Don't be a brass goblin.
Give surplus rifles a try.
Support the Second Amendment.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, Joe.
Bye.
See ya.